Welcome to According to Sam, folks. This is episode 428. Thank you for joining me today. Happy Friday. Hope you guys have had a good week. Today's the last day of July, and we're going to pick up where we left off in the last podcast. I have a lot to share with you guys. We're probably going to be talking about this subject for, I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get through all of this because I have a lot to say about this subject. And, we have been talking about the different crises that the United States is in at this time in our history, in our third century. And I've been calling it the United States third century crisis, and I've been relating it to the crisis of the third century that the Roman Empire experienced that changed the Roman Empire forever. Asking the question, will these crises that we're facing right now in our third century, will they change the United States forever? Will the United States exist 50 years from now? Will it exist the way that it exists now 50 years from now? But these are the things that we've identified that threaten the United States. I've done a podcast on each of these, and we've kind of settled here on number 5 and number 6, the rise of Marxism. And I've been telling you that the conditions are being created for the rise of Marxism, to create the perfect conditions for the rise of Marxism. That this has been something that has been in the works for decades. And they're almost there. They're not there yet. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But the racial tribalism is the conflict. If you understand Marxist conflict theory, that racial tribalism, the racial divisions in this country are being used to create conflict, that the conflict, if you understand Marxism, it's conflict theory. The racial tribalism is being used to create conflict, to create the circumstances and the environment where the rise of Marxism can take place. Like I tell you, if you would have tried to sell Marxism the way that it's being sold right now, if you would have tried to sell that in the 80s, in the 90s, it never would have sold. The conditions were not great for socialism, for Marxism in the 1990s. The conditions were great for capitalism. The conditions were great in the 1990s. But if you want to bring in Marxism, you have to create the conditions. We're getting ready to get to Uncle Luke here in a moment. You have to create the conditions for the rise of Marxism. And you'll notice that those conditions, particularly the debt, because I believe the debt is a large part of creating the conditions. It's not all of what is needed to create the conditions, but the debt is a major part of it. And you can see that started when we got out of the 1990s. When we started with George Bush in 2001, you can see that we started building this debt, and it was by design. It's on purpose. It's not an accident. So the debt crisis, we talked about that. It's all, these people are traitors. This is all treason to bring down the United States. The election crisis, we identified that as the first crisis. And that brings us to my man here, Uncle Luke. If you don't know who Uncle Luke is from the I don't even want to call him a band. It's not a band, from the rap group 2 Live Crew, who's known for such hits as, You Ain't Nothing But a Hoochie Mama, Throw That D, and Hey, We Want Some, such hits as Throw That D, You Ain't Nothing But a Hoochie Mama. What are some other hits from 2 Live Crew? Anyway, I don't even want to say some of the titles of the names of some of the hits this guy is responsible for. But now in his later years, he's running for Congress in the 20th District of Florida. And it is a traditionally black district full of black constituents. And since they did redistricting in Florida and drew out some districts, they drew out Debbie Wasserman Schultz district. So she's moving into this black district because she wants to stay in Congress. And this is what Uncle Luke, he put out this video that went viral this week, and I was floored by this.
I hate to agree with Donald Trump, but on this one, I got to agree with him. These career politicians, Democrats that I've always supported, in my congressional race, they are really cheating. One of the candidates, she has people.
He's talking about
knocking on.
He's talking about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and that's significant. We're going to get to why that's significant here in a moment. But he's talking about Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Why don't you say her name, Uncle Luke?
She has people knocking on seniors' doors, telling these seniors that they will take their ballot to the box, opening up the ballot, changing the vote, and dropping it in the box. They call them ballot harvesters.
When he said that, when I saw this on Thursday morning, this made my morning. I hit the floor when he said they call them ballot harvesters. It's like you just saw the movie. What is what's his name's movie? The 200 Mules or whatever about the 2020. Yeah, they're called ballot harvesters, bro. We've been saying that. We've been telling you about the ballot harvesters. Yeah, they're called ballot harvesters, but you didn't care until it happened to you. Oh my God.
Telling these seniors that they will take
harvesting
their ballot to the box, opening up the ballot, changing the vote, and dropping it in the box. They call them ballot harvesters.
Yeah, they call them ballot harvesters.
I didn't even know this even existed. See, I'm the career politician in this race. And I always said everything Trump says is a lie. He's making excuses. But he's right.
Yeah, he absolutely is right.
Do rig elections.
They rig elections. Not only do they rig elections, the person who he's talking about is Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She was the chair of the DNC and had to step down from being the chair of the DNC just before the convention in 2016 when the WikiLeaks released evidence that she was rigging the election for Hillary Clinton against Bernie Sanders. She has a history of rigging elections, and Democrats still send her back to Congress after she was caught rigging the election for someone in their party, not rigging the election again. If they would do it to Bernie Sanders and they would do it to Luther Campbell, who are running as Democrats, what makes you think they won't do it to get an advantage against a Republican candidate? It's just fascinating that this is the person he's talking about, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who had to drop out of being the chair of the National Committee right before the convention in 2016 because she was caught rigging the election. And then now Luther Campbell, they call it ballot harvesting. Duh. But yeah, we have an election crisis, people. That was crisis number one, election crisis. And then, like I said, this is a dumb country. The education crisis, this is part of creating the conditions that make the rise of Marxism perfect, is dumbing the population down. They've spent decades taking over public education, dumbing the population down. So we have an election crisis, we have an education crisis, we have a debt crisis, we have a treason crisis, and we've been talking about the tribalism, Marxism crisis. Again, all relating it back to the 3rd century crisis. Some of our crises parallel to the crises that the Romans were dealing with, the migration, the debasement of currency, some parallels, but some are unique to us. They had their unique crises, but it all led to, after the 3rd century crisis of the Roman Empire, it led to the Roman Empire changing forever and not being the same Roman Empire that it was at its high point during Pax Romana. Also we've been relating it to the quote from Alexander Fraser Tyler, the Scottish judge and historian. A democracy is temporary in nature, and in nature, it simply cannot exist as a permanent form of government. A democracy will continue to exist until the voters discover that they can vote themselves. Generous gifts from the public treasury. This is the public treasury. $40 trillion in debt. Generous gifts from the public treasury. From that moment on, the majority always votes for the candidate who promises the most benefits and goodies from the public treasury. And it's a cycle from bondage to faith, faith to courage, liberty to abundance, abundance to selfishness, selfishness to complacency, complacency to apathy, apathy to dependence, and then back to bondage. And what I've been telling you is that these people want to create, this is what George H.W. Bush says, is that we have a real opportunity at creating this new world order. And when we're successful, and we will be, we have a real chance of creating this new world order. This new world order that these people want to create is a technological surveillance state where they're never, ever going to be overthrown. That's what they want to create. So that's what we've been talking about. And they're all Marxists. All these people are Marxists. Everyone you see, even Bush here, that's why his father was saying that, we have this real opportunity to create this new world order. And when we're successful, and we're going to be, even Bush is a Marxist. Clinton's a Marxist, who is the surrogate son of George H.W. Bush. The cousin, Barack Hussein Obama, is a Marxist. Biden's a Marxist. But we ask the question, so why, if these people are Marxists, then why was Hillary Clinton fighting against Bernie Sanders in 2016, who was running as a Democratic Socialist? If she's a Marxist just like Bernie Sanders, why is she fighting Bernie Sanders? Why is Obama speaking out against the Marxist takeover of their party? Why are other establishment Democrats, if they're for Marxism, why are they speaking out against the DSA? Why are they saying that, the insurgents in their party are bad? Well, my man, Vince Everett Ellison, and he's one of these conservative black influencer commentator. He's got a very popular podcast. Like I told you, it's not just Brandon Tatum. It's not just the Carter brothers. It's not just black conservative per se. There's so many. They have such a problem right now with black men. Black men are a real thorn in their agenda. But Vince Everett Ellison said this on his show the other day, and I have to show it to you because he's absolutely correct. He explains why these people appear to be not Marxists when they're actually Marxists, particularly this one right here, the Smooth Criminal. And this is what Vince Everett Ellison says. Take a listen.
So AOC has come in and she's knocked over the apple cart. They've decided to move the primary around to South Carolina. Maybe that can stop her momentum and the momentum of the Democratic Socialists.
I think it's hilarious, too, because the Democrats, they did move the first primary is not going to be in Iowa. The first primary for the Democrats in 2028 is going to be South Carolina. And they're doing this because they want to block the socialists and the Democrats. And they think that the Democratic socialism is not popular with black voters. So want to have the primary in a state that's full of black voters, so they'll reject AOC. And that's why she's going down there and using the fake black accent. This is hilarious to watch. It's so hilarious to watch. So she's going down there and sister girl in. So they moved the first primary to South Carolina to block her. But what's likely is going to happen is who's going to come out of South Carolina is going to be Kamala Harris. And and that's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in another.
Has come in and she's knocked over the apple cart. They've decided to move the primary around to South Carolina. Maybe that can stop her momentum and the momentum of the Democratic Socialists, who most of the young white people want in the Democratic Party.
It's not just young. This has been a narrative, and I don't like this narrative, Vince, that it's all young white people. There's plenty of black Marxists. There's plenty of black communists. There's plenty of them. And I don't like this narrative that this insurgents in look at Roland Martin. Go look at Roland Martin's channel. Pumping up Mondani and all this, and look at the comments, all these black people. Oh, I wish Mondani could run for president. There's plenty of black communists. The women that started Black Lives Matter, that bought properties in Beverly Hills with the donation money, they're all black feminists, lesbian Marxists. So there's plenty of black Marxists.
Socialists, who most of the young white people want in the Democratic Party. But they also don't want people to say out loud what I've been saying, what April Chapman's been saying, what Brandon Tatum has been saying, and what a lot of other conservative podcasters have been saying for a very, very long time. And that is the Democratic Party is a Marxist and it's a socialist party.
The entire party is Marxist socialist. Everybody here is a Marxist socialist. He's absolutely right. The entire party is Marxist socialist. Watch what he says here.
Barack Obama is smart enough to know that once that is said, the Democratic Party is done. You have taken the cake out of the oven before it is done. They believe it's going to take another 10 years for the cake to be done. And then they can pull off the mask and say, ha, ha, ha.
Got you now.
And we have no choice but to accept it because 52% of the population now goes along with them.
He is everything that he's saying here is absolutely right. Obama is a die-in-the-wool Marxist. But he's a sneaky Marxist. He's sneaky. He knows, this is what I'm telling you, that they are creating the conditions, the perfect conditions for the rise of Marxism. That's what they're creating. But the conditions aren't there yet. The condition that they need a few more boomers to die. They need a few more useful idiots to turn 18. And then they can do what Vince said, that they can take the mask off and say, look, we got you now. That's what it is. Obama, it's not that Obama's not a Marxist. He knows that it's not time to take the mask off and tell everyone they were Marxists. Hillary Clinton's a Marxist. But she knows that right now the conditions are not perfect for the rise of Marxism, that they have to keep the mask on for a little bit longer. That's why they appear to be fighting against the Marxists in their party. But don't get it wrong. This guy, David Pakman, put out this video. He's a Democrat influencer. And he's like, oh, I'm for capitalists. I'm not. Because the reason he put out that video is because he knows that the timing is not right yet. And that open socialism right now, when the timing is not right, is a loser. It's not that they're not Marxists. They're not ready to say that they're Marxists. And the AOCs of the world and the Democratic Socialists are actually throwing a monkey wrench into their plan because they're not ready to go mask off yet. He's absolutely right.
You have taken the cake out of the oven before it is done. They believe it's going to take another 10 years for the cake to be done. And then they can pull off the mask and say, ha, ha, ha. And we have no choice but to accept it because 52% of the population now goes along with them. They're watching their polls, and they're not there yet. They thought they were there with Joe Biden, and then they saw what happened with Harris and how she got her clock clean.
Yeah, they thought they were there. They thought they were there. They thought they were closer, but they're not there yet. They're not there yet. Again, they need a few more boomers to die, a few more useful idiots to turn 18, and then they can take the mask off. But it's not that they're not Marxists. They're absolutely Marxists. Obama is the chief Marxist. We're going to get into him. I have a lot to say about him. I don't know if I'm going to get into it in this podcast because I have so much more that I have to set up. Got a bunch of polls that came out this week pertaining to the midterms. And quite frankly, people, you can't trust polls at all. Who knows if any of these polls are legit or, you remember the Des Moines registry, the poll that came out that said Kamala Harris was going to win Iowa and all this stuff. If the polls were right, Kamala Harris would be president. If the polls were right, Hillary Clinton would have won. There would have been a red wave in 2022 instead of just a few, seats that Republicans got to barely, take control of the House and the Senate. There was no red wave in 2022. Polls said there was going to be a red wave. So don't trust these polls. I just want to play these clips because I want to show you what's going on here because it leads me into why it's so important to wrangle in these black voters. We got to get these black voters that we're bleeding. The black vote and why the black vote is so important. And hopefully I have time. I can get into this article that I wrote in my Substack. But let's listen to some of these polls and what's going on here on CNN.
Younger voters are fed up and they want change. That is one of the takeaways from the new CNN polling just out this morning. And is also something that Harry Enton has been tracking all year. And he is here with us right now.
Hey, I am here.
And excited. Woo. How big is this shift?
Yeah, I mean, we are talking about an absolutely huge shift, a 180. Young voters are fed up, and they're taking their anger out on President Trump. We'll start off there. Take a look here. Voters under the age of 50 on Trump. In the fall of 2024, Kamala Harris led in her polling by just 3 points. Look at where Donald Trump is. He was within 3 points of Kamala Harris. Now his net approval rating on the year and the average of CNN polling, look at that, minus 41 points. That is a shift of 38 points away from the President of the United States. He is falling through the floor. If you look at the trend line among voters over the age of 50 or 50 and older, the shift that we've seen amongst them against President Trump is less than half that. In fact, it's under a 15-point shift. So the reason why President Trump is so unpopular at this point is the shift among younger voters, those under the age of 50, your Gen Z, your millennials. They gave President Trump a little bit of a try in 2024. No longer. He is down there, right there underneath the ocean floor.
How does that translate to when you're looking at Congress?
Yeah, okay. So obviously President Trump is not on the ballot this year. But if you're a Republican in Congress and you think you're going to escape the unpopularity that President Trump has amongst younger voters, you got another thing coming, because just take a look at these shifts. Okay, in the fall of 2024, the choice for House margin, Democrats were leading amongst those under the age of 50 by 4 points. Look at that lead now, though. Look at that lead now. It's more than 4 times that, a double-digit shift. Their lead is now 17 points. Look at those 50 and older. Look at that. Republicans led by 8. They now lead by 6. Basically the same. The reason why Democrats have been able to jump out to this lead in Congress, the reason why that they are likely to take back the U.S. House of Representatives is not older voters. The key game that has shifted here,
young
the
voters.
Key play that has shifted here is younger voters.
Young voters don't like Trump. They don't like Trump. That's the gist of that. Okay, here's a little bit more. Take a listen.
Voters are angry. They are hungry for change in Washington, and more of them are now looking towards the Democratic Party to make that happen. Those are the big takeaways from our brand new CNN poll that has just come out. It shows Democrats hold an 8-point edge over Republicans among registered voters, and they hold a large 20-point advantage among those who say
generic
party
ballot
to make that happen. Those are the big takeaways from our brand new CNN poll that has just come out. It shows Democrats hold an...
Let's say generic ballot. That's not a candidate. That's not a candidate. That's generic. Okay. So it's going to depend on who these candidates are, is what it is. So this +8 means nothing, but the unpopularity of Trump is being driven by younger voters, as you heard Harry Eaton say. I think that's very important, because as you're going to see here, young voters don't like Democrats either. The same young voters. They don't like Trump. They don't like Republicans, but they don't like Democrats either, people.
8-point edge over Republicans among registered voters, and they hold a large 20-point advantage among those who say they are extremely motivated to vote. CNN Washington Bureau Chief David Chalian joining us now. We're less than 100 days away from the midterms now. What else are these polls telling us?
Yeah, what else? What else?
Yeah, Sarah, I mean, it is astonishing to see how hungry for change, how dissatisfied the American people are with their leadership. Look at this number. A majority now, 51% in our poll, say that the country would be better off if most members of Congress currently were replaced in this next election.
Not just Republicans and Democrats. I mean, I would say that myself. I would say that the majority of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, let's get rid of these clowns.
Most members of Congress currently were replaced in this next election. I mean, that is literally the throw the bums out mentality. And also, there's very little regard for either major political party.
Either party.
Favorable, unfavorable.
Either party. The young folks, they don't like the Republicans. They don't like the Democrats either. It's a huge issue.
For the Democratic and Republican parties in our poll, they're about equally unpopular with the American people. It's 31% favorable for the Republican Party, 30% favorable for the Democratic Party. You see there. So it's, as you know.
So the point I'm getting to and showing you this is, just because and you don't know what's going to happen in November. But just because people are unhappy with Trump, that doesn't mean that they are happy with the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party is in good shape. There's a lot here. I don't want to play all of this. Let's see here. Let's see if there's a little bit more. Let's see here.
This is by no means a done deal, right? There is still a whole lot of frustration. It is still July for a couple more days, so November's a long way off. And the majority there saying both parties are focused too little on the cost of living. There's a lot of work to do. I know you have some new reporting about this. I mean, what do Democrats need to do moving into November? Because this might make them feel good, but it's July.
Yeah, I had exclusive access to a report on what Democrats need to do to speak to working class voters, which is a huge share of the electorate that Democrats have really struggled with. And the message is essentially talk about the economy, which, not surprising, this is a message that has been, goes back 40 years. It's the economy, stupid. But the Democrats need to talk about the economy in a way that just isn't just about prices, isn't about just abstract ideas of affordability, but also about wages, about any number of things, about as Bernie Sanders did, the idea that people work really hard and they just can't get ahead.
Yeah.
But the Democratic Party doesn't always do a terrific job of this. They often end up talking about social issues that are wedge issues that are very important to the Democratic base, but less important to these.
All right. So the gist here is that neither party is popular, particularly with young voters. So, I mean, they're showing this poll that Democrats have a 8-point advantage on a generic poll of taking back the House of Representatives, but no one knows if that's going to happen. And so here's another clip from Harry Eaton, and let's take a look at this. What's Harry Eaton saying in this?
You have to go back 16 years. Remember, it was that
this is the insurgency in the Democratic Party, the DSA, the Marxist socialists trying to take over, and they're calling it the Democrats' Tea Party, relating it to the Tea Party and the Republican Party in 2008 was when it started, 2009. So that's what this is about. Take a listen.
Republican Tea Party wave of 2010. I would argue the Democratic version of it is a new Tea Party, but it's on steroids. Why do I say that? Well, let's just start off with the fact, approve of their own party in Congress. Republicans in July of 2010, it was 52%, a very low percentage, but at least it was north of 50%. Look at where we are now with Democrats in terms of them approving their own.
47% of people who call themselves Democrat approve of their own party. Less than 50% of Democrats, people who call themselves Democrat, approve of the Democratic Party. So again, reinforcing that not only are people not happy with the Republican Party and with Trump, they're not happy with Democrats and Democrat leadership either. Democrats have a huge problem, is what I'm trying to show you.
Members of Congress. It's actually below 50%. Democrats dislike their party more than Republicans did during the Tea Party wave of 2010. Just 47% of Democrats now approve of their own party in Congress. As I said, it's a new Tea Party, but it's a Tea Party on steroids.
And we're seeing the impact it's having on some Democratic incumbents.
Absolutely the case. You know, if you look at the number of Democratic incumbents, House incumbents who have gone down to defeat, it's actually higher in the House than it was back in 2010. House incumbents who lost primaries for Republicans back in 2010, it was 1, 2. You can count it on one hand. But in 2026 so far, it's already 5. It's already 5. You have to use
already 5. And Abdul's probably going to win on Tuesday. I mean, next week's going to be glorious. You're going to see him start turning up the heat after Abdul wins on Tuesday. And I mean, that's just the start. I mean, there's already been 5 in 2026. In 2010, who was it? Eric Cantor and who else? One other. One of those is Eric Cantor, which was a huge, shot across the bow for the Republican Party. But they've already unseated 5 incumbents, and the woman running for the Senate seat in Michigan is not an incumbent. But if Abdul wins, it's going to be another win, not taking out an incumbent, but definitely taking out an establishment candidate.
Incumbents who lost primaries for Republicans back in 2010, it was 1, 2. You can count it on one hand. But in 2026 so far, it's already 5. It's already 5. You have to use up all the digits on your one hand. It's 5 so far, even if you include Lisa Murkowski going down to defeat in the 2010 Senate primary. Of course, she then went on to win as a write-in candidate in the fall. And you include the Senate. That only gets you to 3. Still, we're dealing with more defeats right now in Congress for Democrats, those Democratic incumbents, than you even saw during the Tea Party wave for Republicans back in 2010.
And the prediction markets think it might get even worse.
It could get even worse. In fact, it's likely to get even worse. So if you look at the Kalshi prediction market and the chance that 6 House Democrats go down to defeat, lose their primary in 2026, this number has consistently, over the last week or so, been hovering 80, 90%. And when we talk about history books, the history books, right? If, in fact, 6 House Democrats went down to defeat in 2026, it would be by far, it would be the largest number in a post-redistricting cycle for Democrats. And get this.
So these people are an insurgency in the Democratic Party, within the Democratic Party. And it's not only, they keep saying, oh, it's that David Pakman in his video, it's a small group. It's a small group. What the hell are you talking about? It's a small group. They have the potential of knocking off 6 incumbents. It's not a small group. This is a huge insurgency within the Democratic Party. This is crazy. This is crazy. So I'm just showing you all this. Let me show you. Here's one more. All right, Harry Eaton with a few more facts. We haven't even really gotten into the podcast yet, but I just want to lay some groundwork here before we get into the podcast.
Hey there, if Democrats lose to Trump yet again, these are all the red flags. Democrats, you have only about 100 days until the midterm elections, and you don't have control of either chamber anywhere close to being locked up. What are we talking about?
You don't have any. Listen to what Harry Eaton is saying. That people are saying that Democrats are on the generic ballot +8 to win back the House of Representatives. Nobody's giving them a chance of winning the Senate, quite frankly, and especially when you got, I don't even want to get into that. Because the candidate matters. This guy Abdul in Michigan, if he's a candidate, it matters. If they have a chance of winning that Senate seat, which they don't. So nobody's even talking about the Senate. We're talking about the House of Representatives. So Harry Eaton is here pouring a little cold water on and we're in July. We're getting ready to be in August. He's here pouring a little cold water on the Democrats and their belief that them taking the House of Representatives is a certainty. It's far from a certainty. Listen to Harry Eaton here.
Hey there, if Democrats lose to Trump yet again, these are all the red flags. Democrats, you have only about 100 days until the midterm elections, and you don't have control of either chamber anywhere close to being locked up. What are we talking about here? Well, we're talking about cash on hand. We're talking about cash on hand. You know, Democrats, they're much more like this. They're your $1 bills. While Republicans, you're much more like this, your 50s, and dare I say, even your $100 bills. Because just take a look here. Cash on hand from the main outside groups, ergo your congressional committees, right, your NRSC. Take a look here. Republicans at this point, $657 million. My goodness gracious. That's why I'm talking about these bills, right, $100 bills. While the Democrats...
And it's August, and Republicans... The GOP, the National Convention, has $657 million on hand right now in August. Take a listen to what this guy said.
I'm talking about these bills, right, $100 bills. While the Democrats, only about $334 million, only about half the level of Republicans. And of course, cash is what makes the world go round in politics. Now, you think that these numbers are bad? How about the national committees themselves? The RNC, the DNC, Republican National Committee,
what is this?
Democratic National Committee,
Hold
RNC.
Party committees. Okay, so he's talking about the conventions.
The DNC, Republican National Committee, Democratic National Committee. Look at this. Cash they have, June 2026. The RNC, $129 million. That's pretty gosh darn good, right? But get this, the Democrats are a rarity. The DNC is red on your screen. Why are they red? Because they're literally in the red, way down there. They're actually in negative territory. That's cash on hand subtracted by the party debt. The party debt actually is greater than the cash on hand. The Democratic National Committee.
He's saying that the Democratic Party is broke. That's what he's saying. This is what he's saying. This is what he's saying. The Democratic Party has put their headquarters up as collateral to obtain a loan to run the elections that are happening this fall. They're $2 million in the hole. They have to put their headquarters up for collateral to borrow money to run their elections this fall, is what he's talking about here.
It's broke. It's basically broke. And why is this? What is going on here? And it is because Democratic enthusiasm for the Washington establishment, it is way down there underwater, under the Potomac River. Look at this. Look at this. I mean, hello, approve of their own party in Congress. We're talking about a new Tea Party.
Now we're just, I mean, we've already re-emphasized this over and over again. But yeah, voters are not happy with Republicans, but they're not happy with Democrats about the same level and probably even more, especially when you look at the financial burdens that the DNC is in, putting their headquarters up for collateral to get on. They're asking vendors not to send invoices into after the elections. Like if I was a vendor, I'd be like, what the hell's going to change after the election? There's no guarantee you guys are going to be in power. And what's going to change after the election? It's going to automatically give you all this money to pay these invoices. The Democratic Party is in serious trouble. All right, so that brings us back to James Clownburn, who we played the clips of him in the Vox interview in the last podcast. And he's asked directly, listen to this, what he's asked directly about voter enthusiasm and voters, Democrat voters being upset with his party. And listen to what this clown says.
Democrats largely have a historically negative view of their own party after the last election. Why do you think that is?
I don't think that's historical.
I don't think that's historical. Now, this guy's a leader in the party. This guy's a leader in the party. He's not just a congressional member. He's a congressional leader. You don't think that he knows everything that you just saw Harry Eaton say? You don't think that he knows that the DNC has put their headquarters up for collateral? You don't think that he knows that there's an insurgency in his party knocking off incumbents? He doesn't know that? And he's asked about it and he's like, oh, I don't think that's true. This is insane.
On these couple questions, Democrats largely have a historically negative view of their own party after the last election. Why do you think that is?
I don't think that's historical.
I guess I'm saying polling would tell you that
Look
Democrats
at his face
view of
when he says that. Look at his face. It's like, maybe you misunderstood the question. Maybe you misunderstood the question, Clownburn. I'm saying that voters are not happy with you. Democrat voters are not happy with you. You don't understand the question? The DNC is putting their headquarters up for collateral so they can get a loan to run the elections this fall. Incumbents are getting knocked off in all these primaries. You don't know what I'm talking about?
Negative view of their own party after the last election. Why do you think that is?
I don't think that's historical.
I guess I'm saying polling would tell you that Democrats' view of their own party is reaching lower numbers than ever. That's why I use the word historic. And I'm saying,
of course,
why
that's
do you
true.
think that is?
Because we've allowed you all to brand us.
It's media branding?
Yes. That's exactly what it is.
Isn't that like a convenient way to say it's not the politicians?
You can call it convenient if you want to, but I talk to people all over this country.
Just unbelievable. So it's not only that the Democrats are in this situation, they're completely clueless and they're not ready. This guy's a leader in the party. They're not ready to be honest about the situation. That's why they're putting their headquarters up for collateral to take out a loan so they can be able to run the elections this fall. That's why they have an insurgency where incumbent and Marxist radicals are knocking off incumbents that have been in Congress for long periods of time. That's why this is happening, because it's not only happening, these guys have their hands over their eyes. They're not ready to be honest about it. And so their issue is, again, going back to black voters. They need to wrangle up these black. If we can just get these black voters, not only the black voters that are voting for Trump, like he said at the end of this clip, we played it in the last podcast, that that we only had, as far as black eligible voters, we only had 59% turnout. So their idea too is that if we can get those 40% of eligible black voters that didn't turn out in 2024 to turn out, then we can win in some of these battles. So their objective is to get some of these 40% of eligible voters that didn't turn out in 2024, get them to turn out, motivate them to turn out, and then also stop the bleeding, stop the runaway slaves running away from the plantation of the Democratic Party and going to the Republican Party. Again, this is what he said in this interview. We played it in the last podcast.
There are a lot of black people who are out here supporting Trump.
There's a lot of black people out here supporting Trump, and that's what the big problem is. So that's what you see going on with this Nolan Wells stuff and racial agitation. It is to motivate not only black Democrats but also white Democrats, motivate voters to come out and vote and to use this racial conflict, just like they did in 2020. You can see Clownburn here down on his 80-year-old knees. When did all this start? The whole kneeling thing. What was the whole kneeling thing about? Well, the kneeling thing goes back to Colin Kaepernick. In 2016, he started the kneeling thing. And like I told you, when he started the kneeling thing, that he was sitting on the bench first, and then Jim Brown told him well, maybe it would be more respectful if he would go to the sideline and kneel. So he started kneeling. So then everybody started posting pictures of themselves kneeling, all the politicians kneeling. So here we are 4 years later, and that's why they're kneeling with the Kente clause. But this is all to encourage black voters and white Democrats, to motivate them to go to the polls. That's what's going on. That's what this Nolan Wells stuff is about. They took the tour from the NAACP in Chicago to the National Urban League in Nashville this week. And I told you, this is all about politics, people. This is all about politics. The National Urban League is having their convention meeting this week. Everybody there is a Democrat. Everybody they're interviewing is a Democrat. This is all about advancing Democrats, because Democrats are hurting right now. They're bleeding right now, and they need the black vote. They need the black vote to come out to save the Democratic Party. That's what this is about, people. If you think it's about anything else, then you're not paying attention. That's what this is about. This is what they did in 2020. This is what they're doing now. Standing on black bodies, actually kneeling on black graves and black bodies to encourage black people to come out and vote. So they have, first of all, the National Urban League. It's a historical black institution like the NAACP, but since the 1960s, they've been affiliated with the Democratic Party, just like the NAACP. This is the president of the Urban League. This is National Urban League, formerly known as the National League of Urban Conditions Among Negroes. And this is their president, Mark Morial. And who is he? Who is Mark Morial? I started looking at this. His father was one of the first black mayors of New Orleans. Where's his dad? His father he's from New Orleans, educated by Jesuits his entire life. This is his father, Ernest Nathan Morial. And he was the first black mayor of New Orleans. And his son runs the Urban League. His son was educated at a Jesuit high school. Then he goes to Xavier University, a Jesuit university. And then he goes and gets his law degree from Georgetown University, another Jesuit school. He's been educated by Jesuits his whole life. I thought that was interesting. But this is all to advance the Democratic Party. It's all to advance the Democratic Party because they have the Congressional Black Caucus there. Now, who's this? Congressional Black Caucus, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus is a representative from Ohio, Joyce Beatty, and she's there with them at the Urban League. And talking about these cases. It's not only the Nolan Wells case. They brought these other two cases that are not getting as much notoriety as the Nolan Wells case, but they brought all these three together because this is an attack on the black youth. That people are hunting black youth is the narrative. And they bring the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. Everyone in the Congressional Black Caucus is a Democrat. She's not even a representative of Mississippi or Tennessee. She's a representative of Ohio, but the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. So she's there representing the Congressional Black Caucus, which is a Democrat caucus. How could you say it's not? And take a listen to what she says.
What happened to Tyler Smith? At this time, President Mario, we're going to ask that the Congresswoman just say a brief word and take questions. Yes, Evans, CBC, thank you all very much.
Let me simply say the two most powerful words we can say. To you as families, to the Urban League family, to you, President and CEO, and my good friend, to you, Attorney Ben Crump. Thank you. But let me just say, the Congressional Black Caucus, we aren't just coming today. We communicated with Attorney Crump.
We're communicating with the Congressional Black Caucus is communicating with Benjamin Crump. And the Congressional Black Caucus was also communicating with Johnson here too from the NAACP. We're all communicating. We're communicating Congressional Black Caucus. We're communicating with the Urban League. We're communicating with the NAACP. We're communicating. We're working together.
President Mark Muriel, and we stand with you. And I'll end with your words, Mark. We're going to let justice roll down like a stream and righteousness like mighty waters.
Oh my God, please, 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 people. It's a clown show. This is a clown show. I played the clip of Colin Kaepernick. I don't have very much time. Definitely not going to be able to get into the article that I want to get to. But we played the clip of Colin Kaepernick back into getting to the smooth criminal. Because in this press conference, this is when this all sets off the whole kneeling thing that they've, continued to do even 4 years later in 2020, all kneeling. And he set it off. He does this interview in the locker room. And he gives all these different reasons why he wasn't standing for the national anthem. Again, this is before he was kneeling. This is when he was sitting on the bench. I'm not standing for the national anthem. I don't like the way veterans are treated. I don't like that Hillary Clinton deleted emails and she's running. All these things that he mentions in this interview, reasons that he had problems with what was going on in America where he didn't believe that he should stand for the national anthem. Not just, black issues and the fact that was one of the issues that he talked about in this interview, that blacks are being killed by police. And that's one of the issues. But he also mentions veterans sleeping on the street. He mentioned Hillary Clinton deleting emails. He mentioned Donald Trump being openly racist, all these different issues, which once he started kneeling and transitioning into kneeling, the black people, they grabbed his protest and they made it all about black youth and that Colin Kaepernick was protesting black people being killed. But then he's asked in this press conference, can you say anything positive about a country that has elected smooth criminal twice, a black president twice? And then he gives Barack Obama, who is the current president of the United States, when he is giving this interview and complaining about everything in the United States, he gives Obama an out and doesn't give Obama any responsibility for what is going on in the United States as Obama is president and has been president for the last 8 years. Listen again to what Colin Kaepernick says here.
It has elected a black president, but there are also a lot of things that haven't changed. There are a lot of issues that still haven't been addressed. And, that's something over an 8-year term. There's a lot of those things that are hard to change, and there's a lot of those things that he doesn't necessarily have complete control over.
Now, there's a lot of things that haven't changed in the past 8 years, and a lot of things that can't be changed in 8 years, and a lot of things that he doesn't even have control over. Well, that's really weird, Colin. That's really weird because this is what Obama said the night that he was elected.
Those who've been told for so long by so many to be cynical and fearful and doubtful about what we can achieve, to put their hands on the arc of history and bend it once more toward the hope of a better day. It's been a long time coming, but tonight, because of what we did on this day, in this election, at this defining moment, change has come to America.
Change has come to America. Change has come to America. So 8 years later, Colin Kaepernick says, well, change hasn't really come. Change hasn't really come. And you know, a lot of things, you know, can't change in 8 years. And a lot of things he didn't have the power to change. Meanwhile, understand that when this guy's going to be sworn in on January 20th, he's going to have the Democrats are going to have a 60-seat filibuster-proof majority in the Senate, and Democrats are going to control the House of Representatives. Colin Kaepernick says that he didn't really have the power to change. But he said, change has come to America. You have the power, and 8 years is long enough, and everybody sees it. Everybody sees it. I watched this podcast that these Black conservative women did, and you can see the title of their podcast. And I want to play clips from this because they're hitting out the park here, talking about Smooth Criminal, the Black president that divided America. It's not, I mean, these are Black people. When white people, when they tell you that you're being racist for saying that that Smooth Criminal divided America, they're gaslighting you. Because even Black people understand the way Smooth Criminal divided America. That was his job. That's why. Look at this hug that George Bush is giving his cousin when he's, you know, handing off the country from him to his cousin. Look at this. Look at this. Does this look like a hug of foes, of people that are not aligned? No, they're on the same team, people. Smooth Criminal was brought in to divide the country. These are the high profile Black people that were killed during the Obama administration. It's cute. It's cute because all these people are calling Benjamin Crump the Black Attorney General. Anyway, we didn't get to vote for Benjamin Crump to be our Attorney General, but everybody, even this guy, he called him and they were calling him the Black Attorney General. Al Sharpton was the first who said that Benjamin Crump, we got a Black Attorney General that can't even put together an English sentence, a grammatically correct English sentence, and he's the sentence, and he's the Black Attorney General. It's ridiculous. But Smooth Criminal had two real Black attorney generals, Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch. Not fake Black attorney generals. Smooth Criminal had two real Black attorney generals. And these are all the high profile Black deaths under the Obama administration. Trayvon Martin, 2012. Michael Brown, 2014. Eric Garner, 2014. Tamir Rice, 2014. Walter Scott, 2015. Freddie Gray, 2015. Sandra Bland, 2015. Samuel Dubois, 2015. Alton Sterling, 2015. Philando Castile in Washington. Philando Castile, 2016. Who was the one that was killed in Washington, D.C., just up the street from the White House? There was one. Thought there was one that was in Washington. Anyway, all these people killed by police or high-profile kill. All the names that Benjamin Crump, when he's at the NAACP and the Urban League, Freddie Gray, Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, all the justice for all these people that were killed under the administration of the Smooth Criminal, who had two real Black attorney generals. But Colin Kaepernick says that he didn't have the power. A lot of those things you couldn't change in 8 years, is what Colin Kaepernick says. I mean, it's just a clown show, people. It's just a clown show. And the reason the Democratic Party is in the situation that it is in is because of Smooth Criminal. Smooth Criminal started the decline in the Democratic Party. Started in 2010 and then continued all the way to 2016. Because when people who were not, infatuated by his oratory skills and how eloquently he would be able to deliver a speech, people who saw what this guy was in the first 12 months. I told you, I voted for Barack Obama in 2008. I voted for him in 2008, but I was off the Obama train before he even took the oath of office. I didn't vote for him in 2012. 4 million people who voted for this guy in 2008 didn't vote for him in 2012. And many of us didn't vote for Democrats in 2010. That's why you had the red wave in 2010, because you could see who this guy was. And before he even took the oath of office, before he even took the oath of office, I could see who he was just by who he put in his cabinet. Rahm Emanuel, Chief of Staff, Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, Timothy Geithner, Treasury Secretary, Larry Summers, Chief Economic Advisor. I can go on and on. I could tell that this guy, when he says change has come to America in this speech, that it was all bogus immediately. But so did many other people. Many other people saw that he was not committed to the change that he had promised on the night that he was elected, or we didn't know what kind of change that he was talking about when he said change has come to America. He didn't mean the kind of change that we thought that he meant. And you can see the numbers show that the decline and the bleeding of black voters that Democrats are suffering to this day, it's been incremental. It's been incremental. In the beginning, when these incremental shifts started to happen, Democrats are like, we won't worry about it. We're winning. We're still winning. It doesn't matter that we're losing voters. We're still winning. We're still winning. And then it starts to become a problem when you're not winning anymore. And now it's a huge problem because it's not only a minor wound. The Democratic Party is gushing blood. Gushing blood. And it all started with Smooth Criminal, people. All started with Smooth Criminal. Colin Kaepernick says he didn't have enough time to make the change. A lot of things didn't change. He didn't have the power. A lot of things, he didn't have the power to make the change. No, people, that's bogus. It's absolutely bogus. One of my favorite quotes about Barack Obama comes from Thomas Sowell. And what Thomas Sowell said about Barack Obama, this quote hits it out of the park, because these are the type of people that Obama appeals to, even to this day. And Thomas Sowell says that Barack Obama's political genius is his ability to say things that will sound good to people that have not followed the issues in any detail, regardless of how obviously fraudulent what he says may be to those who have. People that are intelligent, people that understand, like these three women. I'm going to play clips from them probably in the next podcast, but people who understand the issues and are not idiots like Colin Kaepernick, the pride of Nevada University, or the University of Nevada, the Wolf Pack, pride of the Wolf Pack. People that are not idiots and follow the issues, they can see through Smooth Criminal clear as day. But Smooth Criminal, and the reason that I call him Smooth Criminal, because he has this spell over a certain segment of our population, where he's enchanted them with his beautiful words. He's enchanted them. And that's his true genius, like Thomas Sowell says here, is that he's able to say things that sound good to the idiots. No matter how obviously fraudulent those things that he says are to people that can see through him. And people like these black women, and people like myself, and people like Vince Everett Ellison, and the many, many others are a real problem for the Democratic Party. And James Clownburn understands that. That's what James Clownburn is saying here when he said, there are
a lot of black people who out here supporting Trump.
Now, and the thing is, too, and the guy says it in this interview, it's not necessarily that we're supporting Trump. We see how dangerous the Democratic Party is. And in many ways, it's not like that we're happy with the Republican Party and happy with Trump, but we're not ready to go crazy here. We're not ready to go crazy here. We'll pick this back up on Monday. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.